Hi, this is Lauren Weinberg from Independent Jewish Voices. You're listening to 102.7 FM, CKMS, radiowaterloo.ca. Thanks for supporting community radio and Free Palestine.
Community connections, CKMS. Local sounds, thoughts, passions, and success. Celebrate local, your neighbor's got a story to tell. Community connections, CKMS.
Happy Monday, Waterloo Region. You're listening to CKMS Community Connections for the 1st of June, 2026. My name is Bob Jonkman. In the studio with me are Robert Massoud and Irene O'Toole of Waterloo Region Friends of Palestine. We'll be talking to Robert and Irene in just a little bit. We're going to listen to some Mistahi. This is Forever Wars.
Y'all seen this movie of righteous cowards, machine gun of lies from glass castles of power. There's blood in the oil, more tears than hard rain, where nothing grows but wreckage and pain. To the ones that we've lost, what is this all for? But another crash of the forever wars. Cold hands of greed, tight in their squeeze, pure young souls exposed to their disease. No age of reason, dead code devoured, old tired ways of a fatal empire. There's blood in the oil, more tears than hard rain, where nothing grows but wreckage and pain. Star Spangled is waving when the light bombs roar, with another crash of the forever wars. Wars and wars, whatever they want, or what we need. Two separate paths, one is free. Whatever they want, or what we need. The way we go is up to me and you. Whatever they want, or what we need. Two separate paths, one is free. There's blood in the oil, more tears than hard rain, where nothing grows but wreckage and pain. Pin a medal on a soldier, drape coffins with a flag. Let the 21 guns in the forever wars.
That was Miss Tahi Korgel from Saskatoon, called The Forever Wars. In the studio with me are Irene O'Toole and Robert Massoud from Waterloo Region Friends of Palestine. Welcome to the studio.
Thank you for inviting us.
I hesitated over the name because I've been getting it regularly wrong. There are several organizations in Waterloo Region, all concerned with the situation in Palestine. It's nice to see that. It's nice to see that there's so much interest locally for an international issue.
Absolutely. We are very, very grateful to the various communities in Kitchener-Waterloo and for their support. And I've always been of the opinion that Palestine is not an issue of over there and them. It is something that is of deep, deep relevance and importance to everyone in the world. Yeah. So I'm just so pleased that not most people, but other people have gotten engaged as a result of the genocide of the last 2.5 years. It certainly has woken people up to the reality that is Palestine, that has been a reality for close to a century now.
Yes, yeah.
So,
This has been going on far, far longer than October 2023.
yeah.
And I think more people realize that now than they did before.
Absolutely. I mean, it's too bad that it's taken a genocide to bring us to this point, but thankfully we are here. There is incredible consciousness and incredible recognition of the importance, the centrality of Palestine to world peace, but also beyond that to how do we want to live our future lives?
Yes.
What is it that we want for our families? What is it we want for the planet? I mean, sometimes it's hard to see that Palestine, is involved in these larger questions, but indeed it is, because Palestine is, it's the acid test for what lives in the world today.
Yeah.
And I think more and more people are waking up to that reality.
Yeah. Recent events, this is the June of 2026, recent events, Israel and complicit with the United States have been making incursions into Lebanon. And for the life of me, I can't see why that isn't an international incident, why the rest of the world hasn't said, stop that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, for people like us who are looking in on it and we're saying, why is this not news? Why is this not something that's at the United Nations and the Security Council? Because it has broken every international law, every humanitarian law, the Geneva Conventions. And I guess the point of all of this is really a very important one, which is normalization.
Yes.
What Israel has done is normalized illegality, normalized brutality, normalized oppression and occupation. And so when it happens, it just kind of goes by.
Right.
And people, I mean, when I say people, I don't mean the people on the street, but certainly the leaders, being political, the political leaders, the corporate leaders, the institutional leaders, they just let it go by and it just didn't happen.
There's been an alarming amount of inaction by the government, and in fact, complicity with the people that are causing the oppression, that are causing the genocide.
Absolutely.
It's very disappointing.
Yeah.
It's not only is it disappointing, it's also frustrating for people like Irene and myself who are actually also actively engaged in trying to raise consciousness, create opportunities and events for people to participate in, for people to look into and begin a process of interest and then education and informing themselves and attending and participating. I mean, it's a long road and it's a very frustrating road. But, at the same time, we are very thankful and feel very good about the progress we have made in the 4 years since we have started Waterloo Friends of Palestine. And I mean, I think we're close to 300 events of various kinds and various natures in that time period that has fully engaged the community. Hundreds and thousands of people have actually participated in one thing or another. And in the ocean, that's just a few drops perhaps, but the ocean is also made of drops.
Yes.
And so, amid all that frustration, we're also very hopeful, very positive, and we will continue to do what we do. I mean, we can't guarantee outcomes. We can only guarantee our actions. And that's what we want to participate in.
Irene.
Yeah, and I think we've seen changes in the last few years too, and certainly one of the actions that we've done regularly is the Walk with Grief, which is a walk from Kitchener Market every Saturday at 11 o'clock. And we've done that for 138 Saturdays since October the 7th. And what we've seen in that walk even is that at first it was mainly that we had people who were born in, certainly in Canada. There were not many people from the Middle East, let alone from Palestine. But gradually people have become maybe less afraid and more supportive of that walk. So we now have a situation where many of the walkers are from Palestine, Lebanon, and Iran. And so that's good to see that people have found a voice on the streets of Kitchener and are coming out now to that.
You said people are afraid. And I've seen that. I've seen people who've participated in protests, especially pro-Palestine, pro-Gaza protests, who have experienced, discrimination at work, other acts of discrimination because of their involvement, because of their support for Palestine.
Yes, and we see that a lot. Even so, we see that actually from our own government, and we see that certainly with the police, there is a lot more oppression, a lot more restrictions on what people are able to do. And indeed, even on our silent vigil, we did have interaction with the police once that they said we were walking on private property and we were not to do that when we were on the sidewalk. So, yes, there is certainly we see people being arrested around the country, and our government is complicit with Israel. And we've just had 12 Canadians on the flotilla who, as you know, have been through some pretty traumatic torture situations, and the Canadian government has not contacted any of them while they've been back to try and debrief or see how they are or their injuries. They've not been contacted. So that in itself is it's a signal of where our leaders, if we call leaders of Canada, are. But as far as the walk goes, in this community, people seem to be feeling more ready to come out and walk with us and feeling more secure, which is great. In Kitchener-Waterloo.
And the walks continue.
And the walk continues, and we have several other kinds of activities that also support that. For example, we have meetings and discussions in people's homes, and we had an author and poet who came on Saturday and met with 25 people, most of whom were Palestinian people. It was a wonderful event, and so it starts to really grow momentum for people to have their own voice. We also have a number of other activities, such as we have market days where we're at Kitchener Market for Ramadan and Mother's Day and United Nations International Palestinian Children's Day. And again, we are attracting more people whose families have been so badly decimated in Gaza that, yes, of course, they're bound to be afraid. And they hear a government in Canada that's complicit with that. So it's very difficult. But we've had some wonderful experiences in that. And recently we had children writing little notes to the children of Gaza.
Okay.
Yeah, and it was beautiful. And one of them wrote, "I hope the war is over soon."
Yes.
And then another little one wrote a note to Gaza to say, "We're thinking of you." So this is wonderful when little children are in Kitchener.
That's the future we need to have.
Yeah, this is the future we need. So it's
good leaders will come from in the
heartwarming.
future.
It really is, yeah.
If we were talking about being afraid and so on, and I just wanted to distinguish between sort of Palestinians in Canada being afraid and non-Palestinians or non-Muslims and non-Arabs in Canada also being afraid. So there's two very distinct populations being afraid, and being afraid in different ways for different reasons, with different histories of fear and intimidation. So, and I think what's happened is through the genocide, people have overcome their fear. So it's taken in a way that, so the fear has always kind of been there, you know, on a low burn situation. But I think people, because of what they have seen and what they have witnessed in various ways, they have overcome their fear. So they've taken a little more courage to come out on the streets. Okay. So it's also important to realize that it's not just Palestinians or Arabs or Muslims that are coming on the streets. It's also Canadians who, are none of those, groupings who are also on the street. And in the past, and my activism on Palestine goes back 25 years. In the early years, it was really non-Palestinians who'd be in the street, who'd be protesting, because the Palestinians were so afraid, you could say, and so oppressed, even within this country, feeling that they didn't have a voice. So in a way, it's taken a genocide for both Palestinians and non-Palestinians to feel that they have a voice, or to feel that they can no longer be voiceless, that they have to stand up and be heard.
Right.
And that's what we're about. That's what any local initiative is about, is that there's two benefits. One is for the participants to feel that they have a voice, but then that their voice is also heard by their neighbors.
Right.
And that's really the sum of it.
Right. Is there a large Palestinian diaspora in Kitchener-Waterloo in Canada?
That is always a very interesting question, because Palestinians have been so sliced and diced in so many ways that sometimes it's really hard. Who is a Palestinian?
No.
A Palestinian born in Kuwait, born on the West Bank, born in Gaza, born inside of 48, born in Canada. So there's just so many ways to think of who's a Palestinian. So that's just to say that, yes, there is an enormous diasporic community worldwide. Canada, I believe, should be one of the larger ones. Certainly in GTA, in the Southern Ontario is quite a collection of Palestinians. I think the estimates are around 40, 50,000. But it's not so much the numbers, it's the visibility of the Palestinian issue in people's eyes and people's minds. And which is way beyond the numbers of Palestinians who actually live in Canada or in whatever municipality. And that's the key. I think what Palestinians have is they have justice and truth and history on their side.
Yes,
and that
absolutely
goes
they do.
beyond numbers and beyond opportunities to get the word out and to educate. It's knowing that the truth and justice and history and morality are on your side.
Right. You said that it's difficult to determine who is Palestinian. And is that largely from 100, 120 years ago when there were no clearly defined national borders in the area?
Okay, I kind of misspoke there. It's not so. I mean, from a census perspective, it's hard to identify who's a Palestinian, but each Palestinian knows who they are. So when you were asking about numbers, that's kind of a census question, right?
Yeah.
And
I guess I'm trying to define borders.
Right.
To say, you're in, you're out.
Yeah, and that's a hard one to do because because Palestinians have been dispersed so widely. So there's Palestinians who have been born in every country in the world, whether it's just in the Middle East or elsewhere. And who have spoken Arabic as their first language or not as their first language. So, from a census perspective, it's very different than an identity perspective.
Right.
So the identity of Palestine is absolutely crystal clear. The census number is not so clear. Right? And there's a tension between those two things. But it doesn't really matter what the census says.
No.
It's the clarity of the Palestinian identity, particularly as it faces this incredible obstacle, this incredible wall that is both psychological and concrete in front of it. And it's keeping it from actually reaching out to their neighbors, to their fellows, to educate, to, bring around participation and end the impunity and the complicity of their governments. And I'm not just talking about, the federal government. I'm talking about governments at all levels who, in their own way, in their own jurisdictions, work to suppress the Palestinian cause and voice and their supporters. And this is why the local events that we've been participating in are so important. And in a way, I would also say appreciated. We get people saying, thank you for doing this. It is so important that it be done.
Yes. Is Waterloo region, is Kitchener itself more active in Palestinian issues than the rest of Canada?
Well, we're very active. We have about between 14 and 18 different groups in the Waterloo region, which is incredible.
Which has confused me to no end.
No, well, each one of these groups has a mandate that's separate. So,
Okay.
Just to give you a couple of them, we have Palestinian Youth Movement, and their mandate is very much on the streets, organising rallies, raising the voice and awareness of the genocide. Then we have Sporus, which is another group, and their mandate is very much around education. They do incredible work in the schools with teachers, with the school board, and just incredible training on anti-Palestinian racism.
Not as visible out on the street in the protest marches.
Well, they're also in the protest marches, but they're mainly in the educational situations. And the Palestinian Youth Movement and the Sporus Group are also organised the Palestinian Festival, which this year is on July the 12th. It's the most incredible festival we have in the region. We have about 7,000 or 8,000 people came last year, and
I've been
I think
there.
they're
It was
hoping for 10.
marvelous.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's wonderful, wonderful event. July the 12th.
Right.
Yeah.
So, in terms of your question about is Kitchener-Waterloo and it is incredibly active. It's very active, and I think we also the organizers need to take credit for that, because if there are no organizers and there's no organizations, there's no activity. So really, what we want is to create as many pools of activity, of identity that can start reverberating.
Yes.
Now, I mean, at the same time, all of Canada has had an incredible blooming of organizations. So, for instance, you have neighborhoods that are for Palestine. So for instance, in Toronto, as an example, you've got the East End for Palestine, Davenport for Palestine, Scarborough for Palestine. So it's become not just as a kind of a larger umbrella kind of thing, but local neighborhoods that have gotten together within their neighborhood for Palestine and held independent events and films and fundraisers at a very micro neighborhood level.
Yeah.
And that's the level of consciousness that's what activism is all about. It's raising the consciousness at not just the national level, but at the lowest neighborhood level, because that's really where the power is, in the sense of longevity, in terms of intensity. It's when you get the small people behind you. Because the big people, well, their allegiance is not guaranteed. When I mean the big people, I mean the institutions, the politicians, and so on. I mean, they go with the flag. They kind of wave with the wind.
The independent individuals who are organizing and making their voices heard. They're the ones who are making the difference.
They're the ones that make the difference, and they're making the difference with their neighbors at a micro level.
And we have an event in this community. Most days there is an event in the community for Palestine, for Gaza.
Had a couple this past weekend.
At least 6 days a week. And sometimes there's 2 or 3 on a day.
Yeah.
So it's really wonderful,
We've had some movies happening recently.
Yeah, so we actually have a partnership with the Princess Cinema, which is really, really appreciated. And we show movies probably 2 or 3 times a year. And then we have discussion after the movie. So really works well. And at the moment we have another movie in the pipeline, so we're organising, and that'll be coming out soon.
Okay. Nothing to divulge just yet?
Well, not just that it's in the pipeline with the Princess, and they're wonderful partners to work with. So yeah, it'll be really good. And we usually are able to fill the cinema on the first night, and the Princess is really generous enough to keep that movie going for maybe 6 to 10 screenings, and that is a real good.
The last movie we attended was one of the later screenings in the run.
Yeah.
Still people in the audience, still people coming out.
Absolutely. Well, the Princess is very happy with the attendance. I mean, the partnership really is that we suggest the titles, but they will acquire them. They'll do all the logistics around that, and we'll do the promotion
Okay.
So it's a really good partnership in the sense that it's part of our activity, but then the princess gets, access to an audience that perhaps they don't get otherwise in the
Right.
same intensity.
Right.
So because we're very targeted between, our own membership, our own lists, and those of our, fellow organizations. So it's a really win-win situation. And we'd like, Irene mentioned 2 or 3. I mean, it's more like 4 or 5 that we're putting out in any 12-month period. Our last one was Palestine 36,
Yes.
and that was about just 3 weeks ago. We would have liked one earlier, in June right now, but that was a little bit, summertime's not the greatest time for activism. Activists tend to quiet down in the
Especially-
summertime, but we'll be back in September, October, November.
Okay.
And, certainly have 1 or 2 screenings then, and we'll then come back in the winter, spring period.
Yeah, we
So it's active.
and we disperse the films in between different activities as well. So we usually have 2 or 3 activities a year where we bring in an audience of 250 people perhaps. And in fact, this month we have a concert, a benefit concert for the children of Gaza. And that is at St. Jacob's Mennonite Church on June the 25th, 7 o'clock. It's going to be fantastic, wonderful music. We have musicians, local musicians from the Mennonite community, and we have Palestinian musicians as well from Kitchener-Waterloo. So it's going to be a fabulous event, and that's a fundraiser. And the money will go through Mennonite Central Committee to fund programs in Gaza. And a couple of the programs that the Mennonite Central Committee is very involved in are recreation programs, and that's critical for everybody, especially children.
That's a good partnership to have.
It's a wonderful, wonderful partnership. We're very excited about it.
Yes.
Yeah, and there's no cost to come to that concert. And as I say, it's just a fundraising concert.
That's in
to
about
people.
3 weeks on a
It's-
Thursday.
That's
It's on
correct.
a Thursday night, June the 25th, 7 p.m. And people can just come and they'd be very, very welcomed, and they'd have an incredible evening.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, just to add to that, part of what we try to do, of course, is also to reach different audiences and different communities. So in this case, of course, it's a much more defined Mennonite community in the sense that it's at the St. Jacob's Mennonite Church, but also the people who are singing, the musicians, is Peggy and friends. So Peggy Weber and her friends, and that's a very clearly Mennonite group singing older, choral, not just choral, but popular songs and so on, but well known within the community. And so that's very important. Another example of doing that is just during the Irish Real Life Festival.
Yes.
We had an event. It was called Ties That Bind Ireland and Palestine. And there again was an attempt to say, okay, how can we take Palestine and partner inside of a community that isn't, directly tied to Palestine?
Yes.
So, and we had a wonderful event. It was at the pavilion. There was 150 people.
Yeah.
We danced. We sang. It was communal in that way. It was participatory. It was a wonderful time.
Yeah.
And the Irish Festival is looking to do it again. Let's do
Good.
something again, because they were so excited and so engaged in the process with us. And we're getting the same response, with the Mennonites. It's like, this is amazing. Let's do it every year.
And
So
we
it's
love
very
working
important.
with partners. We've had
Yeah.
quite a few. We've also worked with Food Not Bombs
Okay.
in
Yes.
partnership on a empty plate dinner last October to recognise the 2nd anniversary, unfortunately, of the genocide. And Food Not Bombs that was a wonderful partnership.
And
So
another good
whenever we
organisation.
can develop partnerships that can promote and respond to a new population, then that's really a good thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
And to integrate,
yeah.
So what was great about the event with Food Not Bombs is it was literally an empty plate. So rather than having a fundraiser with food and a meal present, it was an empty plate in front of every person. And the empty plate, signified not just the empty plates of Palestine or Gaza, but also locally,
Yes.
you know?
Yeah.
So really, it's about connecting global and local. It's
Yeah.
not just over there and them. It's us here.
Right.
We're involved in this as well, because the forces that are at play, you know, they're global, they're worldwide, and they have local expressions.
Yeah. Both
And
of the
that's
groups.
important.
Both of the groups, the Irish community, the Mennonite community, both of those groups have historically been the victims of persecution
Yes.
as well.
Yeah.
Is that the tie that binds,
Yeah.
or
And
is
it
it
is,
more than
and we've
that?
also worked with Healing of the Seven Generations, the Indigenous groups, because of course, particularly for people in Canada, they have some greater understanding now of the Indigenous occupation and genocide, and so we can bring more awareness, and you know, the Indigenous communities really very Palestinian
Yes.
supporting, because they've walked down that path.
It's
And
exactly
they're
the
still
same
on
issue.
that path.
Yes.
Yeah.
The oppression, the persecution,
Yeah.
taking away the land.
Yeah.
It's an identical situation
Yes.
without the
Yes.
bombs that we see in Gaza,
Yeah.
but the devastation is similar for the people.
Yes.
Yeah, and
Yes.
it's long-term, you know, colonialism.
Yes.
I mean, Palestine is basically into its 100th year since the Balfour
Yes.
Declaration and the mandate of Palestine in the 1920s. You know, it's literally 100 years of occupation. You know, even though Israel had not been founded until 1948,
Right.
there was still an element of oppression, persecution through the British, who were basically, their mission was to destroy Palestinian society's ability to resist Zionist plans and to build up Zionist infrastructure to
Yes.
bring about a state.
That was
That was
made-
the process.
That was made very clear in the movie Palestine 36.
Right, exactly. Absolutely, absolutely. And going back to Seven Gens, I mean, it personally for me gives me such great joy that they open and close every one of our major events. That they've been
Yes.
able to do
Yes.
that, not as a point of entertainment, but of
No, no,
ritual.
no. It's a-
You know, of
Ritual.
ritual,
Ceremony.
of
Respect,
ceremony.
recognition, yes.
Yeah, of
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so it's not about, you know, taking advantage of something or an issue. It's how do we partner and how do we mutually support each other. That's really important.
Yeah.
And so that we can do this with Seven Generations and the Healing Circle is wonderful.
Yeah. Yeah. And we've had some response as well from partnerships in downtown Kitchener. Certainly, you know, the market is a wonderful, wonderful team of people. And then there's always the Golden Hearth Bakery that has donated to us and supports us in all our work. And also makes the best bread.
True.
So it's great that we've been able to build that.
Right.
Yeah.
You were
resources.
talking about another potential partnership for later this summer. Is that something that you can reveal, or is it something that's
Well,
we have to keep our audience in suspense?
yeah, we're at the moment we're just in the process of looking towards, unfortunately, again, you know, the third anniversary of this genocide
yes.
needs recognition, and so we're just in the process of looking to plans around that, but we have nothing in place
Okay.
concrete that we can share with you at the moment. But I just want to talk as well about conversations, because we assume conversations don't mean anything, but conversations can be a really impactful tool on illuminating the issues. Of
Conversations
Gaza,
between
of
individuals?
genocide, not just Gaza. I mean, Gaza's just the beginning. And I always have conversations every day. Everyone I speak to, I have
Yes.
conversation on the genocide, which makes me a bit miserable to speak to. But I actually recently was sitting on a train, and there was a guy next to me, a young guy, who he struck up the conversation, because I don't usually talk on trains. And he was a young Jewish guy from Toronto who'd gone to live in Germany. He was a filmmaker, and he was making films in Germany for 6 years. And so we talked about our work and where he was coming from on that. And he told me he couldn't become a German citizen, which he was trying to do, because he's been on a demonstration and he'd written a post on social media about that demonstration. And for that reason, he cannot become a German citizen. And he was visiting his family in Canada for a couple of months, but had to be very, very careful in Canada. Otherwise, he wouldn't be able to get back to his employment in Germany. So this is, through these conversations, we can network together to build that net that's needed to really start to face the truth and honesty of what's happening everywhere, even on our own trains, with our young people.
Yeah. Makes me realize how pervasive this oppression, this persecution reaches.
Extremely pervasive. Yeah. It really, really is. And, it's silenced and it's oppressed, and we don't talk very much about it. And so this is why it's good for us to have these conversations about. This is what Friendship of Palestine is all about, is bringing Palestine to people to then connect and engage and make friends of Palestine.
Yeah, and that's really the key. I mean, Palestine needs friends.
Desperately.
Palestine has lacked friends, for a long time. When I say lacked friends, I mean, there's always been some support among individuals of Palestine and sort of the grassroots, but certainly not from the powers that be. Right. And so the only way that we can get the powers that be to be in support of Palestine is for, a grassroots support rising.
Yes.
And that's where we need to build friends so that they can impact and kind of trickle up to the politicians, to the presidents of universities and so on. And that was really the genesis of Waterloo Region Friends of Palestine, was how do we make friends for Palestine so that we can impact the higher-ups,
Right.
because we don't have access to the higher-ups. We only have access really to the street level, to the grassroots, and to Irene's point of conversations. So the conversations, like you and we're having here with you, yes, and conversations we're having perhaps institutionally, on a march and so on. But the real hope is that people take those conversations into their one-on-one,
Right.
whether it's with family or coworkers or children, and have that very human connection of concern, of empathy, of perhaps even conflict. But at least you're getting somewhere, you're dealing with it, you're not living in denial.
Right.
And you're not living in fear.
So the friendship, you say friendship with Palestine as an idea, as a concept, not necessarily as a border delineated country. How does that reciprocate? How does Palestine know that we are their friend?
Oh, believe me, as a Palestinian, I know we have many, many friends. In fact, I wrote a poem about how many friends Palestine has. They're just the small people. Our friends are not the big people, but more than ever, our friendships and our supporters are there, and I know it. I really do. In my own life, I've experienced it, and I am always ready to express my gratitude to people for that. And Palestinians have very little to offer other than gratitude. We have no power. We have no resources. We have no borders. We have no land. All we have...
all been taken away.
It's all taken away. All we have is our own identity, our sense of gratitude, our sense of justice, and we share that.
And the continuing presence in people's minds that Palestine exists and Palestine needs support.
Absolutely. And for people who go to Palestine, and there have been many hundreds of thousands over the years, and they ask, what can we do for you? They ask the Palestinians, what can we do for you? And the Palestinian response is usually, go back and tell our story. That's it.
That's it.
We want nothing else. We don't want money. We just want tell our story, because our story alone will carry the day if it is told and heard. Because people have a sense of truth and justice. They want to see it done. But if you can hide it and deny it, then basically there's this perpetuation of injustice.
It feels so
And oppression.
insubstantial. You know, I go to a movie like 36 and feel outrage, feel
Yeah,
injustice. I go to Palestine Day and I feel joy and pleasure. But I don't feel that I've accomplished anything to help
Yeah, we do.
fix the problem.
Right. Well, I think it's not an unusual frustration or situation. I feel it every day, because people say, "What can I do?" And you wish you could tell them, "Oh, just press this lever and you'll solve it." But there is no such lever.
No.
All there is this long road ahead of one person at a time, one story at a time, one conversation at a time,
Yeah.
and then hoping for that tipping point.
Yeah.
You know, so the idea of the tipping point is that you don't need 100% of the people.
No.
All you need is 10, 12, 15% of people to get on board, and that'll be the tipping point.
Right.
And I think we're closer to the tipping point than ever before, but I just don't know where it is. Nobody knows where that tipping point is. We're just working towards it,
Working towards
and ourselves as an organization and our activities, that's contributing to the tipping point. That's the best we can do.
Hopefully we and others will see that happening and join in.
Absolutely.
And we have that movement. That we are moving forward.
Good, good.
And every ocean is made of drops. And you know, often when we're walking, we're thinking as well, around the world, there are thousands of groups of people who are walking at 11 o'clock on Saturday morning.
Yes.
So, you know, there are millions of actions around the world. So it's not just us. It's not just one tiny myopic
Right.
event. It's how this all networks together, and that's why the conversations are very important. That, you know, if we can talk to 25 people in a week, then those 25 will talk to 3 or 4 or 5 others, and this is how we then spread
Yes.
the message,
Yes.
which is very important.
Some of those conversations, are they taking place with politicians, with the big people? Does Waterloo Region Friends of Palestine go out and connect with politicians to make the movement happen at that level?
Well, again, you know, when we're talking about the groups in this community and they all have a different mandate, the Neighbours for Palestine does incredible work with the politicians. They give information, they almost harass, they meet whenever they can, and they do a wonderful job. And in fact, on February the 26th, when we had the loophole vote, the five MPs, federal MPs in this region, all abstained. And they abstained because of the wonderful work of Neighbours for Palestine.
That's a step in the right direction.
They didn't vote for, which was an incredible success.
Right.
So, was that your question? No, you
No,
answered.
it sort of is. It means that the work of talking to the politicians is getting done
Yeah.
by the groups Neighbours for Palestine.
Yeah.
And
No.
they actually have a chapter for each of the different electoral districts
Yes.
here. So I have a sticker on my laptop for Kitchener-Conestoga Neighbours for
Yes,
Palestine.
they're really good. Now, as far as the politicians go, Friends of Palestine events, Aisling Clancy is at all of our events.
Yes.
She's very supportive, she's got a lot of courage, and she stands up and speaks out.
Yes.
Of course, Mike Morris was always also a very committed walker, and he was a
Sponsoring
very
federal
great
petitions
supporter.
to support Palestine. And
Yes, yes.
Well, I think those two people are very indicative of, you know, Kitchener-Waterloo area. That, I mean, these are two particularly courageous politicians, one at the federal level and used to be at the provincial level, where they don't exist in other communities and other cities. And so I think that's a badge of honor for this city and this area. And So it's not that we don't try, and as a movement, to speak to politicians and institutions. We do. There's the phone zaps, there's the letter campaigns, there's the petitions, there are presentations to council and so on, and school boards. We do them. Maybe we could do more and so on, but we do certainly do them. The question is, are they heard? Right? What is the incentive of these politicians at whatever level, or presidents and institutions or trustees and so on? What is their incentive to listen? What are their obstacles to hearing? What is their mandate or their sense of security about moving on what we're asking for? So that's the other part of the question. Yes, we can do whatever we can do, and we do as best we can, but then where does power stand on these issues? And how willing is power to bend and to give on these questions? And that's something that is still an ongoing back and forth for the foreseeable future. But that's where the rubber really hits the road, is when the politicians and the leaders start speaking out unequivocally.
Yes.
Not just, we condemn and we, strongly whatever, and it's just a question of mincing words or parsing words, but actually saying, we will not stand for this. We are going to recall our ambassador. We're going to end the free trade agreement. We're going to actually do something. We're going to vote differently at the United Nations. Those are the kinds of actions that will actually then become meaningful.
Yeah.
Until now, Mark Carney or Ford are saying this or that means nothing, because their actions don't follow.
Right. It's what I've noticed from our local politicians. They make their social media posts. Had a meeting with the Friends of Palestine, meaningful conversation, deep dialogue, but nothing happened. So it was very encouraging to me to hear that all the local politicians abstained from the vote there, because I didn't realize that they had actually been committing to doing anything at all. Just been rhetoric and empty words to my ears.
Yes.
So that was very good to see.
And of course, actually, in the federal government, there were 26 MPs who voted to stop the loophole.
Yes.
So, I mean, that's the government.
That's a good start. I mean, the government itself needs to pay attention to its own members that are making those votes.
Yeah.
So, continue to make friends, continue to have the conversations. How did you get started in setting up Waterloo Region Friends of Palestine? Where did the organization come from?
Well, it came originally from Zatoun, which is fair trade olive oil.
I've heard of that.
Yes, Robert is Zatoun. And so I became the volunteer depot for Waterloo Region, and I'm still the volunteer depot for fair trade olive oil. And through that process, and talking to so many people who really wanted more information, more awareness, more solidarity, because the solidarity is a huge issue when people come together.
Yes.
It became clear to us that we needed to do something.
Do more than just sell olive oil.
Yeah, so really the purpose originally was to illuminate the culture. The culture is so rich, it's so incredible, it's so ancient, it's so beautiful that we wanted to illuminate the culture, because most people from Canada are not aware at all of Palestinian culture. So this is where we started with movies and with events like that to bring some awareness. And then, of course, as soon as the genocide of October the 7th, that's when we started to do the walk with grief for Gaza.
Right.
And that really galvanized that one piece of our work, and it's continued to today.
Right.
Yeah.
Robert, tell me about Zatoun.
Zatoun is the Arabic word for olive oil.
Oh.
Or actually, just olive. It's
Just
the Arab word for olive. And back 25 years ago, in that period when I was wanting to become more active in Palestine, because until then, I didn't have a voice. I felt I did not have a voice, and it was time for me to gain a voice, and I just didn't know how to do it. I knew I didn't want to do politics. I knew I didn't want to do media, because those rely on images and words. And images and words have never worked for Palestine because they are very easy to spin and to deny and to distract and so on and distort. So I really looked for a long time, what could I do uniquely that was different, that really spoke to who I was and to what I wanted to do. And I hit on importing olive oil from Palestine to do this.
Right.
And it has been an incredible success, but not just as a success in the sense that we sell a lot of olive oil, but a success in that it has become such a touch point for people that all you have to say is the word Zatoun. It's like it's become, within the solidarity movement, such a vehicle of identity, of solidarity, of loyalty, appreciation. I remember in the early years, I went back to Palestine and spoke to the farmers, and I told them how much people appreciated their olive oil.
Yeah.
And there were just tears in their eyes.
Is there still a market? Is there still an industry for Palestinian olive oil? Well, one of the saddest things I saw was when, on a previous Gaza flotilla, people came back and did a presentation at the University of Waterloo, showing slides of bulldozers and backhoes uprooting
Yep.
the olive
Yeah.
trees, 1,000-year-old trees that were just being
Yeah.
destroyed.
Yep.
Is there any farmland left to grow?
Well, there is. I mean, there is because, on the land of Palestine, there's 12 million trees. So yes, they are destroying the trees and they're making it more difficult in terms of movement and ability to harvest and then to transport to the presses. So think of it this way, it's a supply chain. And there's so many points of disrupting that chain, right from harvesting to transportation, to pressing the olives, to taking the oil, to a plant, to bottle it, then to export it. These are all choke points that you can stop the flow. So it becomes more and more difficult. It's just not impossible as yet. So Palestinian olive oil, not only is it among the best in the world, but it's also the most difficult to get. There's a huge market for Palestinian olive oil in the sense of demand. There just is not the ability to supply it because of all these hurdles. Think of it this way. The post office in Canada goes on strike, or UPS. Everything's disrupted, or the rail service, and we just kind of grind to a halt and panic. This is how Palestinians live every day and have lived for generations. Every day of unpredictability, not knowing if that road is going to be open, if they're going to be able to pass, go to school, go to work.
Right.
So you learn to live day by day and make it work. And thank God they still manage to do that under horrendous conditions. So to me, that there's olive oil, in Canada that's available that's a miracle.
Yes.
It's a miracle that the farmers were able to produce the oil.
Yeah.
It's a miracle that it was able to be exported. It's a miracle that it's here in Canada. And we need to take advantage of that in the sense that it's part of Palestine. The olive is the symbol of Palestine.
Right.
And that's why they actually destroy the trees and bulldoze them, because you're severing people's attachment to the land through the olive tree. So it's not just destroying the economic asset. You are destroying a part of their identity and their attachment to the land. And that's, in a way, what's also more brutal than just cutting down the trees. It's that, you've had generations, if not hundreds and thousands of years, connection to that land, and it's being severed in this way. But at the same time, the olive tree is incredibly hardy, and Zatoun has contributed over $400,000 over the years to replanting trees. Through farmers.
Okay.
So we will support that in annual giving to fair trade associations, production collectives, to plant new olive trees. And they plant those olive trees in new farms or newly developed land for farming, new farmers who are starting out, or farms that have experienced loss of the father, for instance, or their land. So we're always looking at how best can we keep it alive and keep it going, despite all the hurdles.
And I think just the other thing about the planting of the olive trees, because it takes maybe 40 years for an olive to appear on an olive tree, that it's a real statement for the next generations to come. Planting olive trees today is very, very important for future generations and liberation of Palestine, which we know is coming.
So one can help out by purchasing Zaytun olive oil.
Yes.
How does one go about doing that?
Me. From me.
Tell me how.
Well,
Tell me how. Well, I don't know how to tell you how. People can email me.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want me to give you my
Please
email?
do, yes.
It's ireneotoole16@gmail.com.
Irene O'Toole 16@gmail.com.
Yeah.
very sorry that we make it so difficult for people to buy Zaytun, but we have to understand that Zaytun is not a product as such. It's not a SKU on the grocery shelf. It's something that actually is inconvenient, tends to be more expensive than regular oil. It's something that people have to struggle to get.
Yes.
It's just not, you don't just go to Sobeys and pick it up or wherever. I mean, you could go to also the Golden Hearth Bakery. They
Okay.
do offer it as well.
have it there.
But it gives you an example of how difficult it is. And it's kind of representative of the difficulty of Palestine.
And I want to say as well that on June the 25th at the concert, St. Jacob's, there will be Zaytun olive oil, and also at the Palestinian Festival, July the 12th,
Okay.
and at the Fergus Multicultural Festival on July the 11th.
Very good.
So if people want the olive oil and they don't want to email, that's how they can get it too.
And I've seen the table up at the movie showings at the Princess Theatre.
Yes,
And,
whenever there's a movie.
Absolutely.
So
Yeah.
it is there at events. We
Good.
certainly we have tables at events where we sell it and so on. So,
Okay.
Yeah.
yeah.
Irene O'Toole and Robert Massoud, thank you so much for coming in,
Very well.
spending an hour talking about Palestine, Palestinians, friends of Palestine. It's been wonderful.
Thank you so
Thank you
much.
very, very much.
You've been listening to CKMS Community Connections on CKMS FM. My name is Bob Jonkman. CKMS Community Connections is a production of Radio Waterloo, sponsored by Radio Waterloo, and executive producer Jennifer Strong. We'll be back next week.